from Zach Lowe for the purposes of furthering this Domantas Sabonis discussion.
Okay.
Because I think it's pretty clear that you land in the camp of you keep the All-NBA guy, and you probably have to keep Zach LaVine, and so you just try and add the right wings and the right players around those two guys, and maybe you back into becoming the Pacers, right?
Okay.
That kind of vibe. Then there's the other side of it that's like, pull the plug. Just trade him. If you can trade LaVine, trade DeRozan, start accumulating picks, and get this rebuild going.
Yep.
That's the other kind of side of it. I'm going to try and thread the needle using this Zach Lowe idea, because it involves a 3-team trade where the Kings send, the money works on this, and the ESPN trade machine is a little wonky because of where we're at in the calendar. So I can't complete the 3-team deal, but something like this, where the Kings trade Domas, and the money works on this specific part of it. Domas and Devin Carter to Phoenix for Kevin Durant. The Kings would then turn and flip Kevin Durant to whether it's Houston or Minnesota or something like that. And you're accumulating real assets in this deal, while also trading Domantas Sabonis. Does something like that allow them to maybe thread the needle in a way that's not like, hey, punting completely, but also, yeah, hey, we're just going to kind of stick with what we know.
Okay. I mean,
I made that as convoluted as possible just for you.
It's a gamble because you're hoping that you're going to be able to get something out of Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure that you are. Like Kevin Durant's entering the final year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
He leaves a trail of destruction in the same way that Jimmy Butler does, but sort of in a different way, but still effectively the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think like on the trade market, Kevin Durant probably has like X amount of dollar more value than Domantas Sabonis, right? Like a 3-team trade where the Kings just like bowed out and said, hey, we're going to go get a bunch of young guys from Houston. That might work. I mean, it might. That's probably your best bet if you are going to trade Domas, is to try to get into some sort of trade where, again, you're taking back a Jalen Green, you're taking back, like name that young player, Jabari Smith Jr. or a Cam Whitmore. Cam Whitmore, who allegedly is like might be on the trade block this summer because he's not super happy about his place in the world with the Houston Rockets.
You mean the place he doesn't have?
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm the Kings, like I'm calling right now and I'm trying to get Cam Whitmore.
Yeah.
And I don't think Cam Whitmore is worth more than like probably 2 second-round picks.
Sure.
But that's the type of underutilized talent that I think the Kings should be looking for. But like, I get what you're saying. And like, sure, if you're going to be able to swing some major 3-team deal that all of a sudden resets you back to 22, 23 years old and you're building from there, that's one thing. Then you got to figure out what to do with Zach LaVine. Then you've got to figure out what to do with DeMar DeRozan. And I have no problems with all that. Like if that's where you're going to go, but you're not going to reboot and start with draft picks. Because I think that's one of the biggest problems that I have with the Kings is that, like, look, if you're going to start at a certain point, like there is nothing that says the Kings are going to hit on draft picks. Like, I just mentioned the 2017 NBA draft, which was, the De'Aaron Fox, Justin Jackson, Harry Giles, Frank Mason draft, right? I mean, that was Scott Perry. I mean, Scott was with Vlade, and it was also Vlade, but you hit on 1 out of 4. The other guys literally aren't in the NBA anymore. They've been gone. So, and that's not that long. I mean, it's 8 years. I mean, sure, that's enough time, but some of those guys weren't in the league like 3 or 4 years in and haven't had reasonable careers.
But if we're not trusting Scott Perry in a, I'm just going to call it a rebuild because I don't have it, in this rebuild scenario, then why was he hired?
Well, because you can't trust anybody except for Sam Presti, and even Sam Presti made a ton of mistakes on his way to building juggernauts.
But then if we're not taking a risk, then what are we doing here? Like if the goal is to just like, oh, hey, just don't mess it up, then there's not, don't mess up what? They won 40 games.
No, I'm with you there. I'm just like, if I'm tearing this thing down, I'm tearing it down in a different way.
Okay, so what does your teardown look like?
My teardown is DeMar DeRozan goes somewhere else. If you can find someone to take Zach LaVine, even if it's for another player of that type of value,
Michael Porter Jr. That's
okay.
a thumbs down, by the way. Can I just real quick out on Michael Porter Jr.?
No, you can be out on Michael Porter Jr., but I would rather have Michael Porter Jr. than I would Zach LaVine.
Oh,
and that's not like to be rude to Zach LaVine.
The thumbs down for me.
Yeah, I mean, they both have a crazy injury history. Porter has a bunch of off-court weirdness that you don't want to really deal with. But at least I know I'd have my small forward / power forward with Keegan Murray. And I think the Kings are at least able to build that shooting guard position where they have not been able to build the small forward position at all. And so, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying there, but like, are there other deals out there? And can you put Zach LaVine with a couple of first round picks and get another player that someone just like for whatever reason doesn't want anymore? And maybe you take on an extra 2 or 3 years of that player, which could cost you again $100 million or more. You know, the Karl Anthony Towns of the world, you know, Zach LaVine and draft capital, you know, throw in an extra player or two to make the money totally work. Like, I'm not opposed to something like that. I think the Knicks probably would be, but the point is, I think that we always look at like players like Zach and say, oh, well, you can't trade them. And I think Joe Johnson proved everybody wrong. Any NBA contract can be traded. And that was the worst NBA contract, and he got traded multiple times. So Zach will have value at this year's trade deadline. He'll have value next summer as a $49 million expiring contract. So, like, I don't think this is so doom and gloom, especially when I look around the league and go, okay, the Western Conference alone, Minnesota is in turmoil after losing. They've got 3 major pieces that are all either free agents or can become free agents, and Julius Randle, Nikhil Alexander Walker, and Naz Reid. You look at the Los Angeles Clippers, imploded once again and had a really healthy season by a bunch of old guys. There's no guarantee that they're going to continue on their upward trend. The Golden State Warriors, yeah, they had some nice moments, but again, the Steph Curry issue, the fact that him and Jimmy Butler are super old, and so is Draymond Green, and their careers are coming closer to an end than anything. We look at the Denver Nuggets. Are they going to shop Michael Porter Jr.? Are they going to take a step back? Like, outside of, I think, Houston, who's building something, but you don't know if they're going to get there. Again, flamed out early. Or OKC, who we know is going to be there. Name another team that you're guaranteed is going to be in the playoffs. That not the playoffs, but is going to be like a top tier team. Is LeBron James going to even come back and play next year? We don't know that for sure at this point.
Sounds like he is.
It sounds like he is, but
do we really think LeBron's not going to squeeze every last drop out of a farewell tour?
Probably.
He's going to let us know ahead of the season, this is my last year, and soak it in accordingly.
Okay, but even if we understand that to be the case, like, it's not like they were good last year. Once they made the Luka trade, they had a couple of runs, and then they got trashed in the playoffs. So, like, why not? If a lot of teams are in the same situation you are, you could try to get a jump start to try to be the next OKC 3 years from now. But again, like, the difference between the Kings and, you know, like so many other teams and just the Oklahoma City Thunder is that they have a guy who will find the pieces, who has, I looked it up, 3 of the last 12 MVPs were at the Oklahoma City Thunder. 3 different players. I mean, sure, he got the number 2 overall pick and got lucky that Greg Odom went number 1 and got Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
But Durant, Westbrook, and Shea, like, the Kings have never had an MVP while they're in Sacramento. That dude's got
Harden
3
never win an MVP?
Well, Harden, but he won his MVP after. I mean, like, while he's with Oklahoma.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Like, so the Kings can't find anywhere an MVP. And the one time that they had an opportunity to draft one, they botched it.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, what are you hoping for? Because again, I'm looking at 16 years of futility of absolutely a disaster, and one general manager, one coach, one actual owner after another just cycling through because you can't figure it out. The Kings aren't the only ones who have had like a major downturn and been stuck in that for years. I mean, Detroit, like there are a lot of other teams. Charlotte may never climb out of the hole that they're in. New Orleans had 1 year where it's like, oh, look, we might have something, and then fell apart completely. So, like, I get that there is a push to like, oh, reset, reset, reset. And it's like, I'm not resetting around like Zach LaVine.
I think it's I think that is more. I don't know that anybody saying, yeah, they should trade Domas is like, but you gotta keep Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. And if they are, that's insane. That would be one piece. Like, that's a domino.
Yeah.
I'm also in that instance looking to move Zach LaVine. I'm also in that instance looking to move DeMar DeRozan for the exact same reasons. It's like, dude, whatever you can get for DeMar DeRozan, great. Whatever you can get for Zach LaVine, great. Within reason, right? You're not just going to give them away just for the sake of giving them away.
Yeah.
But if there's any value to be had there, I understand the argument of, yeah, go take that value and start at square one or I guess square two if you like Keegan Murray and Keon Ellis. Keegan Murray and Keon Ellis long term.
Yep.
That's a mouthful. That's hard to say. But this is not a for me anyway. This is not a like Domas specific. Like it's him. He's the problem. It's like no, he's a really awesome player who they could probably get more value out of in a trade than whatever they're going to do with him on the team for the next 3 years. That's if he wants to be here, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I would say this. I'm looking at the Kings more as salary structure than I am players. And I look at, again, a $25 million chip in DeMar DeRozan. I look at a $10 or $11 million chip in Jonas Valanciunas. I look at a $45 million chip in Zach LaVine.
Sure.
If I'm the Kings and I'm looking at the West the way that it sits, and I'm looking at where you can't take, you don't think you as a franchise, the Kings, can take that step back, but there's someone else who's in the same exact situation you are, who's going, we should probably take a step back. That's when you take one of those chips or two of those chips and you put them on the table with 3 or 4 first-round picks, and you go get a star from another team that has said, hey, we're not in it. We're done. We're toast. And we have to be real with ourselves, and we're not going to be good. And that's where I would convert whatever it is you got for De'Aaron Fox into a equal or better player to the De'Aaron Fox, and then go reset that way. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I also feel like that's probably where the Kings are heading, and not in the blow it up and start all over category.
So this leads to, I guess, the larger question here. Would Vivek and ownership even entertain the type of rebuild that I just laid out, where it's like, yeah, trade all your big contracts for whatever you can get, stack up those first round picks, and start from there?
Because I don't think so.
I would be kind of shocked.
No, I mean, like, look, you, in order to do what you're proposing, and realistically what Kenny has proposed, you have to cut ticket prices by 20% at a minimum.
Yeah, because you're going to be really bad.
Yeah, we're going to be just really bad for a couple of years while the A's are here. Again, another thing, while the A's are really bad, but here. But still, like, you're taking a step back that is kind of not logical at this point. Like, and I know that so many people are out there like, oh no, you have to reset. You've got, like, there are so many ways to build an NBA like contender. So many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're not New York, so going out and getting all of the players that they did is really difficult. But at the same time, like, none of those guys were drafted by New York. They're all acquisitions. You got to be smart. You got to be savvy. You got to go out and strike at the right time, and you got to hit on some free agents, and you got to keep building and hope that you get it right. And, you know, sometimes you're going to miss, but There are other times where, hey, look, number 11 pick in the draft was Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. The number 15 pick in the draft was Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Mm-hmm.
You know,